On November 1st, 2024, we have a new moon in Scorpio. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you and guiding you through 8 journaling prompts directly inspired by the energetic themes surrounding the Scorpio new moon. And as I walk you through each of these prompts, you will gain a deeper understanding and greater clarity of what the Scorpio new moon is all about. And I may be biased because I am a Scorpio myself with multiple Scorpio placements, but I so love Scorpio energy. And I feel like growing up, I really felt so misunderstood, and I really misunderstood myself as well. And as I learned more about the energy of Scorpio, right? And as I learned more about my chart, I really came to deeply love and appreciate and value and honor being a Scorpio and the energy that is Scorpio. And I think in general, Scorpio is very misunderstood. And a lot of what is highlighted revolving Scorpio energy isn't so great. But I always feel so enthused to welcome people into the world of Scorpio, because Scorpio really is such a magical energy that really transforms you, really evolves you, really matures you, really takes you to depths you've never been before, and is very welcoming, compassionate to darkness. It is the energy that makes friends with shadows. It is the energy that sees the light in darkness. And so another thing that I just love about the timing of Scorpio new moons and Scorpio season, and something that I love to bring up, is the days and the height of Dia de los Muertos. There's a reason, there's a purpose, there's an intentionality behind why Dia de los Muertos and All Souls Day and Samhain, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. There's a reasoning why those observations happen in the days that it does. And that's because the veil is very thin. It is a time where we really are able to connect more accessibly to the other side, to spirit, to our ancestors. So it truly, I just love connecting with you all during Scorpio season and during Scorpio new moon and Scorpio full moons too. But anyways, without me continuing to go on and on, there's so much I can say about Scorpio if you can't tell. And let's go ahead and get into these 8 journaling prompts. What has darkness brought to and been bringing to light? This is a time where we are really being encouraged to see the light in the darkness, to create a newfound appreciation for the darkness. And by darkness, I mean the situations in our lives, the circumstances in our lives that feel really uncomfortable, that feel really dark, that feel heavy, that feel like they come with a lot of unclarity and maybe some sort of confusion, misunderstanding. This is a time where we no longer turn a blind eye, shove those things under the rug, look away because it's hard to look at. We are looking at the darkness now, right? We are looking at the challenges. We are looking at the discomfort. And we are choosing to actively see the light, right? And the light can be lessons. The light can be opportunities of growth. The light can be wisdom that you've gained. So let's position ourselves in the shoes of an involved Scorpio, right? And journal about what the darkness has been bringing to light, what the darkness has brought into light in our lives recently. What am I feeling increasingly inspired to begin again? Scorpio, as I mentioned, is very welcoming of change. Scorpio understands ending and beginning and ending and beginning and dying and being birthed again and dying and being birthed again. Scorpio energy is a very transformative, evolutionary energy. And when a Scorpio evolves on its journey, it increasingly becomes more and more grateful of change. It becomes more and more grateful of deaths, because Scorpio knows that with death comes rebirth. With ending comes new beginning. And new beginning, and it's just every part of it, every part of the evolutionary journey is just so sacred, right? And so integral to our growth. There's just this, again, we're really being encouraged to develop this newfound appreciation for it all. And so in what ways have you been feeling increasingly inspired to begin again? And really giving yourself the compassion to begin again, right? This has come to an end. I haven't been doing this as much as I have. I really have set this aside in my life. I really feel like I need to give this a new approach, and I'm allowing myself to begin again. I'm allowing myself to start over. I'm allowing myself to be rebirthed. So what have you been feeling increasingly inspired to begin again? What new beginnings am I intuitively feeling are manifesting for me? So on that note, right, of allowing ourselves to start over, to begin again, to be rebirthed, what new beginnings are you intuitively feeling? Have you been sensing in your gut are manifesting for you, right? It may not be very visible in the 3D realm, right? It may not be very in your face, right in front of you, manifesting in this moment, but you sense it coming. You sense it arriving. You can feel yourself being prepared for this new beginning that is manifesting for you. It's downloading, right? It's in the midst of being downloaded into your current 3D reality. What are those new beginnings for you, right? And these new beginnings can be emotional new beginnings. They could be mental new beginnings, right? Rewiring in your mind that's happening, in your subconscious, in your nervous system, in your physical body, in your physical environment, right? At home, in your relationships, in your belief system, right? A lot of new beginnings are happening, and even though we may not see it right in front of us, doesn't mean that it's not happening, right? Even though it may be taking a little longer than expected, doesn't mean that it's not happening. Everything is in divine timing. Everything is in divine order. So let's be in that posture in the Scorpio New Moon, in the Scorpio season, as we are undergoing death and rebirth, as we are experiencing endings and beginnings. What are the new beginnings you are intuitively feeling are manifesting for you? And if you are right now feeling like, I just feel like everything's ending, like beginnings aren't even in my conscious awareness right now. I just feel ending after ending, and I don't see a beginning in sight, and I have no idea what I am intuitively feeling is beginning for me soon. If you feel like you're kind of in that space, allow this prompt to be an opportunity for you to imagine the new beginnings that are manifesting for you, right? Set the intentions. Don't just skip this journal prompt or any journal prompt just because you feel like it doesn't apply to you. Use your imagination. Be visionary, right? What are the new beginnings that are manifesting for you? In what ways am I feeling called to be more intentional with how I am using my life force energy. An evolved Scorpio is a Scorpio that really honors life, right? Really honors the process of life, the mystery of life, and the preciousness of life. After undergoing so many deaths and rebirths, you just really come to cherish and praise the life and the energy that you are being gifted in every now moment. And I really want us to position ourselves in that place of deep appreciation and cherishing and honoring our life force energy, and really coming to know just how valuable our life force energy is, and where it is that we're placing our attention, and what it is that we're investing our time and energy into, because our time and energy is very, very precious as we are in this human experience. So in what ways have you been feeling called to be more intentional with how you are using your life force energy? You may have been feeling like you need to redirect your attention. You need to be more wise, more careful, more intentional with who and what you're giving your time and energy to. So let's give time and energy into really thinking about this and writing it down. What are the ways you have been feeling called to be more intentional, more mindful with how you are using your life force energy, because you are growing more and more consciously aware of how valuable your time and energy is, and how much you really honor your life, and really wanting to ensure that what you're investing your time and energy into is worth it, right? So what ways have you been feeling called to be more intentional with how you are using your life force energy? As my soul has matured, what matters less to me and what matters more? Something that I've really come to believe in my consciously spiritual journey and in my consciously spiritual awakening and expansion is that the purpose of our human incarnation is truly to develop our soul, right? And this is definitely something like a realization that comes with the journey of Scorpio, the journey of conscious, constant evolution. And I really wanted to make sure that that aspect of a Scorpio's journey and realization is integrated into these prompts that I offer to you. And have us hone in on what matters less to us and what matters more as we've evolved, as we've changed, as we've arrived to this point, as you've matured, as you've learned some lessons, as you've completed some curriculum in your life journey. What has come to matter less to you? How have I gotten more comfortable with the uncomfortable? How have you noticed yourself becoming more welcoming of feeling uncomfortable? And I think in large part, when you realize that discomfort is actually really valuable because it contributes to your growth, right? And if we're just constantly in this state of comfort, where is the grit needed for you to grow? again, I keep bringing this up, but it really is in a Scorpio's journey to come to value discomfort, to come to value quote unquote darkness, right? Because a lot of the things that we may deem as dark or as a shadow are things that make us feel uncomfortable, right? And again, I'm really intending to position us in a place where we are valuing these things because they are valuable and they are worthy of our honoring because they're a part of life and a part of this human experience. So how have you gotten more comfortable with the uncomfortable? And I think that there is nuance to this because obviously there are some uncomfortable things that we shouldn't get comfortable with, right? There are some discomforts in life where it's not okay. Like if you're in a really toxic relationship and it feels really uncomfortable. Like, don't perceive this in the sense of like, this discomfort is good and I should stay here and I should continue to allow this discomfort to happen because it's contributing to my growth. While there is truth to that, because as I look back on my own past incredibly unhealthy and some very toxic relationships that I've been in, yes, I value and honor them and am ultimately grateful that I experienced them because they did contribute to my growth. That is not to mean and to say that I'm going to stay in this thing or I'm going to welcome this thing or I'm going to allow this thing to continue to be in my life because it's uncomfortable. Like there is a nuance to this, right? So please practice discernment with these kinds of prompts. But in general, right, there are things that are just not ideal in our lives. They just feel uncomfortable and we wish we weren't going through them. But they are ultimately serving our highest potential, right? If we allow them to be so. It really is in our power to allow anything to be an opportunity for growth, to contribute to our highest potential. It really is on us to determine that, truly. Anyways, how have you gotten more comfortable with the uncomfortable? Because I am sure that you've probably noticed yourself arriving to this place of just acceptance and surrender. Like, this is uncomfortable, this is not ideal, but this is what it is right now. And this is how I'm going to make the best of it. I'm gonna start making the best of this by accepting it, acknowledging it, surrendering to it. And by surrender, it's less about giving up, right? When I say surrender, it's surrendering by being less resistant to the truth and to the reality and becoming more present, more welcoming, more accepting, more receptive, more open, right? All right. So, how have you gotten more comfortable with the uncomfortable? What has recently been calling my attention and observation? Scorpio is very observational. Scorpio is very contemplative. Scorpio is very reflectional. Scorpio definitely does take the seat of the observer. And there's a reasoning why we are called to pay attention to certain things. There's a reason why we have been feeling called to observe certain things, or we've been finding ourselves more observant of certain things, right? Sometimes we don't really notice it until we really sit down to notice it. Like, I have been observing this more and more. Or I have caught myself paying attention to that, or feeling this like intuitive calling, this gut feeling to pay more and more attention to this. what have those callings been for you, right? What have you been recently called to pay attention to observe? What have you been catching yourself observing more and more recently, paying attention to more and more recently? What has recently been calling your attention? What has recently been calling your observation? Pay attention to this, because there is definitely something to learn from that. Something to learn from what you've been called to pay attention to, what you've been called to observe. How have I been subtly evolving and ascending? I intentionally left this prompt as the last prompt, as the 8th prompt, because after you've journaled all the prompts that you chose to journal that I've offered to you up to this point, you've definitely been gifted the opportunity to notice and realize and acknowledge the ways that you have been evolving, the ways that you have been transforming, that you have been changing, that you have been ascending to your higher potential. So how have you subtly, right? And I intentionally included the word subtle because a lot of the times our growth, our transformation, our evolution, our ascension truly is very subtle. And it's not until we look back in hindsight that we realize how much we've grown, how much we've ascended, how much we've evolved, how much we've changed, how much we've transformed. But let's try to notice the subtlety of our evolution right now, of our change, of our transformation right now. How have you been subtly evolving and ascending? And something that you may have noticed about Scorpio energy too is that Scorpio is very subtle. Scorpio is very quiet. Scorpio is very under the surface in more ways than one. And a lot of things in our life, especially now in this season, truly are under the surface. So let's hold the space for us to notice the subtleties, to notice what is under the surface, what is happening under the surface, under what may be so obvious. Let's take a look at the not so obvious. How have you been subtly evolving and ascending? And please take a look back and revisit all that you've journaled so far. And that, my friends, are the 8 journaling prompts for this new moon in Scorpio taking place on November 1st, 2024. It truly is such a magical, potent, enlightening new moon. It's interesting because typically full moons are the enlightening and illuminating ones because of the light of the full moon, right? The fullness of the light of the moon. But this new moon really is the light in the darkness, really is the illumination and enlightenment that comes from the shadow, from what's typically not so obviously seen. So thank you so much for bringing me into your present moment, for being open and receptive to these prompts, for being here, for investing time and energy into turning inward. It's so beautiful of you to be searching for content like this. Truly so grateful to align with you, and I am wishing you such a blessed, such an evolutionary, such a warm Scorpio New Moon and Scorpio season. Blessings, and see you in the next video. Bye.